This Fleet Equipment Unscripted interview is presented by Hendrickson, a leading manufacturer of heavy-duty suspension systems and components to the global commercial transportation industry. Visit hendrickson-intl.com to learn more.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jason Morgan, Content Director for Fleet Equipment, and welcome to Fleet Equipment Unscripted. Today, we're talking with Andrew Nelson, Vice President of Sales for AEye. Andrew, thanks for taking the time to connect here.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So we're going to be talking a lot about Lidar and automated driving systems, something we're seeing more and more of and talking about more and more of. And actually, I was looking on the AEye side, I was kind of looking at some of the background. And I mean, the background from your company comes from, some pretty big names: NASA, Lockheed, U.S. Air Force, DARPA, where it was like, did it start with targeting system for jets? That was just kind of cool. I saw on the website.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, our founder here is from the defense space and the missile tracking systems. And so missile tracking systems with Lidar at extreme distances. Now, so some pretty cool technology and some pretty, smart people kind of heading the way here. And of course, higher volume, more ubiquitous use case is going to be autonomy here of trucks, but I'll leave the missile defense systems to Northrop and Lockheed and all the other companies.
Yeah, I just thought that was a cool background and how you're entering in the trucking space. So we'll keep it focused on trucking. I did want to mention that just because I saw it, I was like, oh, that's super cool. So
it's pretty cool technology, yeah, and it's technology that it's not idea that's been shown that exists. It is
right.
Not in the clouds. It is, I guess it is literally, but right. It does exist, it does work. And like I said, there's different things you have to look for when it comes to trucking, but no, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, right. No, I don't. In having these conversations, I don't talk to a lot of companies with that background. So we'll switch gears to trucking. We'll talk about something more in the world that we're all related to here. We hear a lot about Lidar. We have an understanding of what it is, but there's always kind of an evolving conversation over what Lidar's role is in automated driving systems, especially in heavy trucks that are on the road many miles over the course of years and kind of those hard-working jobs. Can you give us an idea of where we're at with Lidar and the role it's currently playing in automated driving for trucks?
Yeah, well, the role it's currently playing, there's a lot of companies. There's a lot of companies that have a very vested interest in testing with Lidar and increasing the levels of autonomy in Class 8 trucks. And it's absolutely more needed. And it will be quicker to market than even what you see in passenger vehicles. There will be Class 8 trucks with Lidar on it, being able to handle interstate highway stretches and more mundane control. They call it, operational design domain (ODD) environments, where you have a divided highway. This will happen well before you could buy you or I as a consumer can buy a vehicle that has a Lidar and drives our vehicle fully autonomously.
Right, yeah, I want to say I would have to dig it up, but I'm pretty sure I saw a headline not too long ago about, I forget which state it was, but even developing automated vehicle lanes, right, as well, kind of like carpool lanes that you could get into stuff too. And you mentioned the use cases, and we've talked, I've had conversations before where it's, that once you get on highway, there are less variables, still very difficult, but less variables than last mile driving, city center driving with pedestrians, stop signs, all sorts of different variables. Highway tends to be a little more predictable.
Yeah. So, and I think honestly, if there was going to be automated driving lanes to begin with, that would make my job a heck of a lot easier. So there's no expectation that's going to happen. Usually, bike lanes didn't happen before you had the cars driving. After the cars driving, they realized we might need a bike lane here in some cities. Yeah. And so what will happen is that the interest on like a highway, even when you're merging onto it, you want to have a wide field of view. You have to look at multiple lanes. You got 80,000 up to 80,000 pounds that you have to manage and mitigate, and the aerodynamics of that. And so you're looking at, and you're actually using the Lidar to look at a very high resolution area, say within 100 meters in all directions. And then as you kind of gain speed, you care more about seeing far down the road, and a couple hundred meters away. I need to know if that's a black plastic bag or a black tire or a wooden crate, because one's going to blow out a tire in a truck, and one may not, and it's a lot more riskier to make a lane change in a truck than it is a passenger vehicle. So all of these things have to be taken into account. And but I mean, what is not a shock statement in any regard is that the interstate highway system is our best friend. And
Right.
so that right there, and so there is Lidar and autonomy in trucks will never replace the driver. We will never have full self-driving trucks like we do in passenger auto like we will. The driver's role is too important. They do too many things, and there's too many variables. And so, but what we can do is we can raise the levels of autonomy and increase the safety, the efficiency of the truck, as well as the cost savings by augmenting the driver's capability on the interstate and other divided highway areas.
Right. So going back for a minute, when you say that the driver's important, and 100% agree with you, they do a lot of different things, especially in a truck. Even if we could say that we have more automated operation on the highway, still got to get the truck there to and from, get loads dropped off. I mean, there's a lot of, like you point out, a lot of variables there. But what level? So what level do you think is in the is on the roadmap for you get to the highway? You're on a highway. Are you looking at level 4,
Level 4.
full drive?
Level 4.
So and that is
level 4. The autonomy will assume complete control, and if there is any issue with the autonomy, with complete control, it will fail safe, i.e. a term for, if the driver is sleeping or if the driver, because I mean, the whole big difference in the truck is the driver doesn't have to be in the seat, right? In a passenger vehicle, yeah, you can climb out of the seat, but no. So, you have right now, there is level 1 and level 2 systems on the road, but the driver has to assume control. It's a autonomy assistance, if you will.
Yep.
Level 3, there won't be any level 3 systems because it's very confusing who has control, the driver or the autonomy. And so level 4 is what every company is targeting. There isn't a company that isn't targeting level 4, but a good level 4 system means complete autonomy in certain environments.
Right. And then just for my sake too, and the audience sake too. So that is, level 4 is the truck is driving itself, but there's still a driver in the cab. Still a driver in the cab. Level 5 would be a complete autonomous vehicle without a driver. That's just kind of
the driver can be in the cab or not in the cab. So there is actually companies here that already employ drivers that are testing this to say, hey, if a truck driver is working 11 hours in a day, we're having them do 15 trips back and forth from the distribution center to the urban environment they have to go to instead of actually driving on the highway. So when we talk about controlling the environment, we talk about, the truck having a driver, getting to whatever point very near the highway, to the distribution center or whatever, then disengaging. The driver could stay in the truck or the driver could exit, and the truck drives itself onto the highway, exits the highway. And when we talk about controlled environment, we mean for a distribution center, whatever route, not even a distribution center, but a drop-off point where we get off the highway. Right now, the trucking autonomy only wants to make right turns. So when they get off the highway, they'll make 4 rights to get to a spot because right now it's very controlled how they're rolling out this autonomy with Lidar. And so
I see.
Then you would basically have same way you have way stations right off the highway. You're going to have all of these areas off the highway you pull off to, maybe off of an exit, 1 stoplight total, period. And then a driver jumps in and drives it to wherever the distribution center is, or the end destination is in an urban environment or a rural environment. So, sometimes it'll be more convenient for the driver to stay in the truck because he's also driving it if it's a short trip, but it doesn't have to be. That's what level 4 autonomy is.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, and even your use case and how that would happen, I think that's even new to me. Kind of as an interesting drop points and different times that the driver would be operating an autonomous vehicle. So very interesting. Let me. I've already taken us into the deep end. Let me get back to the Lidar systems. One of the things.
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. It's super interesting. I appreciate it. One of the things that comes up in conversation when talking about Lidar sometimes is durability concerns on the truck. I mean, we've seen them. They're mounted on the truck, but they're sensitive instruments. And trucks work in really hard environments, rough roads. Can you speak to that? How robust do the systems need to be, and what maintenance concerns might there be?
Yeah, well, so the robustness and the durability is a huge challenge. I mean, you have low frequency shocks in Class 8, 18 wheelers that you do not have in a passenger vehicle. When you have a single chassis in a passenger vehicle, it is very easy to manage that versus the varying shock profiles you can get in different frame-mounted electronics in different parts of the truck. One thing I will say is that this is a question that every frame-mounted electronic has faced since inception. I mean, there was a time when people thought radar wasn't robust, when cameras weren't robust.
Right.
AEye has, we have partnered with, we manufacture, we have Continental, the tier one, automotive tier one.
Yep.
Manufacture our product, start to finish. They own it. We have lines in Ingolstadt, Germany. They're actually building it. So we can say with confidence that in the next 2 to 3 years, that durability concerns will be resolved. Right now, it's a challenge. We're working towards it. If you were to say, if some trucking company or fleet were to come to us and say, we need 1,000 trucks today, we'll pay you whatever price you name, make this durable, technology's not there yet.
Yeah.
It will be though. And so that is a huge thing, because usually the technology is like, is this beneficial to our truck? Make it durable. You don't start out with, is it durable? And then somebody going, well, what the heck does it do?
Right.
Yeah, it's durable, but what does it afford me on my truck? And so that's coming. And by 20, by, I want to be, I don't want to say 2024, but I just want to hedge a little bit, but it's possible. But by 2025, the shock vibration analysis, the robustness, as well as the maintenance, the plan in the manufacturing from Continental is no unplanned maintenance.
Okay.
The bane of any truck,
right.
Planned maintenance. And so being able to have warranties, guarantees, or stipulations that there will be no unplanned maintenance, and within your preventative maintenance schedule, you'll be able to manage the LiDAR the same way you manage any other electronic that's mounted at any point on the frame.
Right. Well, and you alluded to it earlier, also with the different use cases of, is it a bag in the road? Is it a tire? Is it a box? I mean, that's just a huge challenge for autonomous systems overall. Just, you can't, especially if there's no one in the truck, it can't have unplanned service. And in the event that it does, to your point, it has to fail safe, pull itself over, contact. I mean, basically do everything humans would do in a safe manner. To be able to do that. So I know that's a huge issue that people are working on and connecting the service dots there too.
One point to add to that here, I mean, you have to understand there's actually a lot more critical in semi trucks here for like when you see things at a distance, which again, the whole point of LiDAR is that you provide your own light source. You send out an invisible light here. It basically contacts an object, it reflects back. And based on the time of light, which is a constant, you get from how far somebody is away. You're just doing that millions of times a second.
Right.
Day or night sees the same. It doesn't need the headlights. It doesn't have different values for different cameras. Radar you're never going to be able to see as far as radar. It's just it bounces off of things. It doesn't have the high resolution of LiDAR. But in doing that, you can't always just change a lane like in a car.
Right.
And so a lot of times this is, if I can see this object, 300 meters away, 280 meters away, 350 meters away, and determine what this is, I'm in an environment I can't, successfully execute a lane change. I need to slow down. And being able to slow down, from 62 miles an hour to 48 miles per hour in that period of time could be the difference between running over something and not having a tire blow up.
Right.
And so, and that's key, is that you don't always have the ability to change lanes on a whim. There's so many other factors. And so slowing down and even seeing that in from a safety standpoint, decreasing speed 10, 15, 18 miles per hour can be all the difference in a more severe situation happening. And so unfortunately, you can't always just change lanes. Like there's very few environments where you can't fit a car in when it sees something,
Right.
So I just kind of wanted to clarify that, is that, but with LiDAR, one of the biggest benefits and values that Class 8 trucking has is the height at which you can mount LiDAR and see over occlusions. You can see over cars. It can see cars in front of cars slowing down, so the truck can slow down before the car in front of it hits the brake lights, because it knows what's going to happen. Now,
Right.
if you have a truck in front of you, you can't see in front of that trailer, but you don't need to because it usually has a similar stopping distance you do anyways.
Right.
And so there's significant value in the safety of the driving experience and the efficiency of being able to speed up and slow down based on what's ahead, fuel efficiency savings. And then, obviously the drivers aren't going anywhere, but if we can manage some of the mundane uh, points in the road, the hours of driving in a controlled environment, you can. Like, it's very simple in trucking because there are cost savings, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
this is augmenting the driver, but there will still be a shortage of drivers for as long as we're alive. That's just all there is to it, and
Right.
hopefully this can weather some of the load.
Right, right. Real quick, lastly, because we talked a lot about really interesting things here, but I loved your point about how technology needs the time to advance, and it is advancing, and we'll get to the durability as one example. Can we look back? Can we look back a year, 2 years, 3 years? Can you give me an example of where we're at today that would have been, kind of comparable to where durability is going to be in 2 or 3 years from now? Like, what's the Lidar doing today that it would have been amazing 2 years ago, and hey, it's going to be even more amazing going forward?
Okay, yeah. So I would say that one of the things is that I've been in the lidar space. And it's a nascent space, right? The 3D lidar. That it's been in defense and like aerospace for a while, but
Yeah.
actually moving more to the mainstream. DARPA Challenge probably only been around for like 15 years, 10, 15 years. And so even 3, 4 years ago, you had a lidar where you were providing the company saying, hey, look, this has, depending on the shock you provided, this thing can run 100 hours. 100. I'm not missing a zero here. 100 hours. However, we after that don't believe the data you're getting because something's probably been knocked loose because it was spinning lidar. You've probably seen the lidar that kind of rotates.
Yep.
And so you basically would provide the customer a new unit in exchange for them giving you the old unit because you didn't want it to be used anymore. We go from that to uh, customers going, hey, like in the last 9 months at AEye, customer going, hey, look, we've driven with these lidar statistically significant mileage, and we have already done no issue, no preventive maintenance, nothing, and we're 7,000 hours into this, and we've like this is really good. This is much better than we can anticipate, and it's
Right.
AEye going, well, hold on, you've only been driving on highways,
Right.
so your shock profile is less. There's going to be more environments that we're going to increase in the future. So don't get too excited. It's going to take some time to be durable, but now it's okay. The runway and the ubiquity of seeing hundreds into the thousands of trucks that use lidar and have level 4 autonomy is a few years away. And what we're now seeing is that the biggest issue is with durability is how are you going to manufacture it? And there's somebody that companies trust to manufacture it.
Right.
Look, AEye is a great company, but any trucking OEM or fleet care less that we're 7 years old, right? How are you going to manufacture it? And so we go through Continental. They've sold over 100 million radar. They sell radar to many of these trucking OEMs. They sell cameras as well, and they're going to manufacture it in Germany in a plant. That is one of the top tier 1 manufacturers of automotive components in the world, one of the top 3. So, that's huge, and so that's why AEye didn't have that a year and a half ago. The vetting we had to go through for Continental was insane, and so whereas 2, 3 years ago it was just a bunch of companies in Silicon Valley, they got money from venture capitalists, and we're like, oh, look at this real cool lidar thing, is evolved into how are you going to productize this, and how are you going to actually make this a robust use case, especially with the liability and safety needed for a Class A truck.
Right. No, definitely. And I've stopped by the Continental team before at shows and that kind of thing, and seen the technology that they're putting out. And that was even a couple of years ago now, given all the pandemic lack of events. But with everything coming back on now, even then it was impressive what they were able to do and put out there. And super interesting to hear how it's evolved, how it keeps evolving, and just kind of what's driving this forward. So I really appreciate you taking the time. This has been wonderful.
No, like I said, thank you very much for the time. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when with Lidar on these trucks, and it's going to be a huge help, but we have a long road to go.
Well, I look forward to talking with you more as we go down that road and see what happens next.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be fun, and I'd love to talk again.
Thanks.